So in this video, I'd like to focus on me, but there's a good reason for that. Hopefully by telling you a little bit about where I've come from, I can explain how this channel will hopefully help you. It'll all make sense, don't worry. Hi folks, my name is Steve Gerrard, and let's be clear, I am not a certain international football player you may have heard of, but actually me and that Steve Gerrard do have quite a lot of things in common. We were both brought up half an hour from each other in the northwest of England. We were both born in May. He has a brother called Paul Gerrard, and so do I. We were both married in 2007. He has played Wembley Stadium. So have I. More on that later. He wanted to become a DJ in the clubs. I've already done that quite a lot. We've both made a few slip-ups in our career, and on this channel I will be telling you a few of mine so that you hopefully won't make the same mistakes. The other Steve Gerrard is an amazing footballer, and that's where the similarities end. So this Steve Gerrard is a professional photographer and entrepreneur based in Montreal, Canada. I'm from the UK originally, as I say, and this is my first YouTube video. Now, I may not know much about making YouTube videos, but I do know a lot about making photos and getting paid to do just that. I've been a professional photographer since 2005, and on this channel, I am going to be sharing tips, tricks, tutorials, that's a lot of T's, advice, and a few random thoughts about all aspects of photography, from music photography, weddings, portraits, editing, and lots more besides. Hopefully you'll get a lot of value from this channel, whether you're a complete newbie with a brand new camera, or if you're a professional photographer that just wants to up your game a little bit maybe, or get a little bit of inspiration that may or may not help your photography. But the reason I wanted to focus a little bit on my story today is just to give you a little bit of background of where I've come from and why you might want to consider sticking around and even subscribing to the channel. I was brought up in Chester, which is near Liverpool, before I moved to Birmingham for university and started working in nightclubs as a DJ and club promoter. First of all in sweaty little rock clubs before I discovered electronic music and started DJing all over the world. That took me to places like Argentina, Moscow, China, Australia, Taiwan, all kinds of cool places. I played at Wembley Stadium, told you, in front of 93,000 people warming up for Oasis. I headlined the Exit Festival in Serbia, which was amazing, traveled the world, and even got to release my own mix CD, which for some reason is $40 on Amazon at the moment. At one DJ gig in the Alps, I met a Canadian girl called Evelyn, and 4 years later to the day, I tricked her into marrying me, and now we live in Montreal, Canada, with 3 little humans that we made that live in this place rent-free. But what has all that got to do with photography, you might ask? Well, I've been into photography since I was a kid. I was always a kid at school with a little point and shoot, taking it on school trips and bringing prints into school on the following week. And when I started DJing and traveling, I would take my DSLR to these amazing places that I was going to that maybe I would never go back to. And I used the camera as some kind of prop for exploring the cities that I was traveling to and making pictures to document my time there. And then when I was going home to England, I was going to a lot of concerts and wanted to shoot the bands at those concerts. So I tried blagging photo passes to shoot those bands, and I had a few connections with the venues from my club promotion days, and so slowly but surely started to get into concert photography and getting experience in those situations, which can be extremely challenging. The first big band that I shot was Megadeth, and that was in 2005. And since then, I've kind of photographed most of my favorite artists over the years and got some of my pictures published in Rolling Stone, NME, Kerrang. I've had a few album covers and posters and things like that, which is all pretty cool. And I still shoot bands to this day. At that time, I had no interest whatsoever in shooting weddings. To me, wedding photography was kind of old fashioned and boring and just something that people did to pay the bills. But then I started seeing photographers in photo magazines who were shooting weddings in a completely different way to what I'd seen before. And it was only then that I started thinking, maybe this is something I should look into. Photographers like Jeff Ascoff and Jerry Gionis were two of the photographers that I first saw in magazines. They were completely different from each other and they were shooting weddings in very different ways, but I was definitely drawn to the images that they were creating. And from then on, I started paying a bit more attention to wedding photography. Later on, I started discovering photographers like Jonas Peterson, Ed Pearce, Sean Flanagan, Jeff Newsom, and Fer Waristi. And all of those, apart from one, I've actually been in front of their camera and they've taken pictures of me and my wife and my family now. So maybe that's something that I'll make a video about in the future. Because being on the other side of the camera occasionally can actually be a huge benefit to how you work as a photographer. And after seeing all these photographers that I loved who were traveling the world shooting weddings and just seemed to be having a great time doing it and making pictures that I loved, suddenly wedding photography started to look like a bit of a dream job. So I've told this story a few times now, but a friend of a friend was getting married and I asked my friends if they would mind me coming and shooting some pictures at the wedding. They already had a wedding photographer booked, but they said that would be cool. And I went to the wedding, tried to stay in the background and just mainly do reportage shots and just to see if I actually enjoyed shooting weddings. Turns out I really enjoyed it. And then not long after that, I met my friend in town and he said that the couple actually preferred my pictures over the photographer that they'd booked in the first place. So that just gave me the confidence to dive in and give it a go for myself. Since 2007, I've shot nearly 500 weddings. I got voted best UK wedding photographer and I've traveled to some amazing places like Iceland, South Africa, Thailand, Italy, Mexico, just to shoot weddings. In about 2011, I started getting other photographers asking me if I did workshops or any kind of training. But to be honest, I still felt like a bit of a newbie at that time. So I kept turning that stuff down until one person asked me a question that changed all of that. And they asked me this: if the photographer you were when you started could spend the day with the photographer you are now, would that be of any value? And I had to say, absolutely. And that's when I changed my mind about workshops. Since then, I've trained hundreds of photographers, either in person or online. And now I'm hoping to share some of my experience and help other photographers right here on YouTube. So all of this is just to let you know a little bit about my background and where photography can lead to, whether you're just doing it for fun or if you want it to be your main source of income. These days I shoot everything from bands to weddings to portraits, personal branding photography. There's a lot of different things that I shoot, but the one common factor is people. If you want to learn about photographing landscapes or products, then maybe this channel is not for you. But if you want to get better at shooting people and then editing those photos in Lightroom, Photoshop, Alien Skin Exposure, then maybe you'll want to consider subscribing and sticking around because I'm going to be going in depth into all those kind of topics in future videos. I'll also be making some videos about some of the mistakes I've made along the way, which hopefully means that you can avoid making those mistakes for yourself. And I'll be giving you tips on running a photography business and staying productive and organized every day. So what I want to know is, what would you like me to make videos about? Wedding photography, how to get to shoot your favorite bands, editing, lenses, cameras, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments if you want. Now, I'm not a big gearhead, but I'll definitely tell you a little bit about the kind of lenses that I use on a regular basis, as well as my cameras, my lighting, my editing software, and lots of little gadgets that I have lying around that help me get the kind of pictures that I take. And if you're a complete beginner, I'm going to give you some tips on the kind of cameras that you should be starting out with, and especially the kind of lenses you should be starting out with to get the best pictures you can on a minimum budget. If you want to help me out, then you could just take about 1.5 seconds and hit that like button underneath. That just lets YouTube know that I'm here and there are actually people maybe that want to see this stuff. I hope you'll stick around for this new chapter in my photography journey. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.